with Jacob Carroll. Jacob is a real estate investor who started buying real estate during the 2020 COVID pandemic, focusing on long-term rental properties. With a background in technology, Jacob has scaled his portfolio to 12 properties, managing them remotely from San Diego while exploring short-term rentals as his next strategy. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Jacob.
Hey, thank you for having me, Eric. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you jumping on with us today. It sounds like you've got a really unique skill set. You're in the tech space. You've got a background of operating a few different companies, and now you're starting to get pretty involved within the real estate space. So I'd love to unpack some of that. But before we do, if you could share just a little bit more about yourself and also how you got started in real estate, that'd be great.
Yeah, not a problem. So I'm actually born and raised in the Midwest. And, my background, as you mentioned, in technology, obviously I went to undergrad and graduate school, focusing kind of on that technology, business management career path. I had the opportunity to partner with some others in a business formation and created a consulting business in 2014. And we saw that through to 2019 and exited that business really right at the start of the pandemic. But I've been providing consulting services really in the space of cybersecurity, audit, and data privacy for many Fortune 500 small, medium-sized businesses. And so I've been doing that roughly for the last 18 years. So quite a history of doing that, both in the public and private sector. And as I mentioned, I have a passion for IT, but, one day I need an extra bedroom in my house, which had an unfinished basement. And, I decided, okay, well, if I just figured I could figure it out. Right. So I'm kind of a DIY entrepreneur at heart. And so through challenging myself with a lot of YouTube videos, I figured out how to work through project work related to remodeling a basement. And I found it really gratifying. And so that's really how I kind of started down this path of saying, hey, maybe real estate could be a good investment, pathway for me for kind of long-term financial freedom.
That's definitely interesting to hear that YouTube DIY got you into the industry there. I actually hadn't heard of that one before, but that's really good. And so you ended up having to remodel a room in a basement to get things set up, and that led you down the path of real estate. And so you've got a pretty unique niche. You buy townhomes. What stood out to you about the townhome model?
Yeah. So again, in my IT career, it's all about risk management. And I kind of brought that right into my real estate investing. And my thought really on townhomes, and, I'm a former owner of a townhouse. I knew that they're managed by an association. And while sometimes that comes with some negative elements, I know that for a lot of things, they do maintain your yard, your landscaping, any snow or ice removal, and really the exterior of the property. They keep the community looking really nice. Additionally, in my particular areas where we formed our buy box, most of these units were built in 2000 or newer, right? And so really what we were looking for is a townhouse that was within 5 minutes of where we lived, 5 minutes of Lowe's, Menards, or Home Depot, because I was DIYing, doing all the renovations and remodeling myself and bringing them online. We were also self-managing all of these properties. So we felt like the townhouse niche was a good way to start and manage our risk. And honestly, the price point there was a little bit more suppressed as opposed to a standalone single family house in the West Metro where we were trying to purchase.
Okay, so the maintenance of the property management company that was maintaining these townhomes is what sold you along with the price. So that's really unique, and that's great that you guys came into the space with a criteria rather than just entering into the space by not really having something to focus on, but you guys actually located something that you were really wanting to target there. So if I could go back to a little bit of what you said initially when we first got started. You said that you owned a company and you guys sold that company. and you built this portfolio while you were running this company. If you could share just a little bit more about how did you go about building your portfolio while you had a really demanding business?
Yeah, so I would say this is a good segue and also allows me to highlight one of my challenges professionally, and that's the ability to delegate. Being a type A, wanting to be in control of every little thing, it can be very challenging and be very time consuming. And so, in order for me to really manage my professional commitments and also start the scaling of a rental portfolio, I did lean on other team members. But I also sharpened the pencil as far as where I was spending my time, where it was most value add. And then I did, and thankfully in the industry and career that I did have a lot of flexibility. And so there would be rental properties that we would get under, get possession, we would purchase. And I would be able to take an internet hotspot, my laptop, and I would go sit at that property with a folding table and a couple of chairs, right? And between conference calls, I would be able to, step away and work on little projects here and there throughout that workday. And so it's just little tips and tricks like that. It's also staggering your schedule, taking flexibility where you can, but obviously a lot of that is taking a backseat to what is really bringing in the income in order to enable your real estate investing, which is your primary career. So that was always really first seat for me as I was scaling this portfolio. So I think that's really important for the listeners to make sure that they provide some insulation there, some security around their day job, because that's super important if you want to continue. And not only that, but it's used by your lending and your financial, partners in order to essentially show that you can pay and repay these loans that you are planning to take to scale your portfolio. So that was also pretty important for us.
I agree with you. Holding on to your W-2. And I was recently at a conference over the weekend and I was speaking with a gentleman. He still has some active income and he was highly recommending to hold on to that W-2 income while you build your portfolio out as long as you possibly can, because like you mentioned, it makes you more bankable. It makes you look a little bit more presentable when you go and you're trying to secure debt to purchase these properties. So that's really good. And you mentioned that delegation and really managing your time well while having a really busy business is how you were able to accumulate your portfolio the way that you did. Were there any things that didn't work initially or any kind of bottlenecks that you ran into when you were trying to manage your business while building your portfolio?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that you need to be, when you're underwriting these deals, especially when you're getting started out, give yourself a little bit more cushion as far as time. You think you can purchase a unit, get it turned around and, have a tenant placed within, 2 to 4 weeks. Oftentimes you probably want to double your timeline. And then just, you need to come to the realization that you can't do it all. And so you may have to, and what's important in this business is start developing a Rolodex of partners that you can depend upon. As I mentioned before, I like to DIY everything because I like to learn the business. My key really in my first handful of properties that we acquired was really to understand the ins and outs of how these properties work, who are the key players and what type of trades do I need ready to go so that I can delegate those things. And then I would say lastly there is that you got to be willing to sacrifice, because there was a lot of busy work days, work. And then there was a lot of, okay, I need to switch over and I need to focus on my rental. And so there was a lot of late nights there. And that, depending on what chapter you're in life, that can take you away from family, it can take you away from kids. You may have to, kind of reprioritize some things. And so I found just being realistic with yourself on that to be a really foundational element as we were getting started.
Okay. And when I read over the questionnaire on what I send out to guests before they come onto the show, you mentioned that you self-fund these deals. Is there any preference in that, or are you using any debt, or is that 100% self-funded, your personal cash?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So these are not all properties paid for 100% cash. No. Self-funded, yes. So typically, at least in investment properties, once you land with a couple of good financing partners, they're going to require 20 to 25% down on all of your deals. And so as we brought on units, we were having to come up with 25K of capital. Now, I will say that I had a fortunate exit from my last business venture. And so we took capital off the table. So we had that available to us to get us started in our portfolio. But another thing that we did is as we became cash flow positive and we started seeing gains in our business, we weren't doing owner distributions, right? We weren't really paying ourselves. We're just sitting there cycling that into our business and allowing us to buy our next unit a little faster and kind of continue to scale. And so we've kind of gone that route. We have maxed out our 10 conventional mortgages, if you will. And so now we are really working with financing partners on portfolio loans, and we're looking at other things that are maybe a little less under the microscope as far as your personal finances. So we are evaluating DSCR type loans that, base your approval on the cash flow potential of the property. So we're starting to look into those as well.
It sounds like you guys are trying to exhaust all your options and you're looking around to see what kind of things are available. And that's a smart investor. Those are the things you have to do in order to continue to build out a portfolio. So good for you guys. It sounds like you guys have a great thing going there.